bust 'em out.
Welcome to the Hearts of Men podcast, a journey into the depths of men's hearts where courage meets vulnerability and wisdom embraces integrity. In a world that often measures a man by his outer achievements, this podcast dares to explore what truly defines a man of character. We unpack the challenges and triumphs that shape men's lives, bringing to light stories of resilience, compassion, and unshakable faith. We believe that the heart of a man is a treasure trove of untold stories, powerful lessons, and profound wisdom. Through authentic dialogues and insightful discussions, we aim to unlock these treasures, one story at a time. So, whether you're seeking guidance, inspiration, or simply a moment of reflection, you're in the right place. Get ready to be challenged, inspired, and transformed. And now, to guide you through this journey of discovery, please welcome your host, a visionary leader and a true catalyst for change, Dwayne Dwyer, but we affectionately know him as the Mindset Coach.
What's going on, family? Yes, Dwayne Dwyer, affectionately known as the Mindset Coach, is here, along with the Uncle Junior from the Uncle Junior Network, the Consistency Coach, and my brother to my side, son of Timothy, the available man, Mr. Tawami Gaddy himself. We are all here, and I am poor man's Dr. Phil, Mr. Chef Happens, and the lot fell on me this week. It seemed like I have missed you guys. I haven't been here. It seemed like for a month of Sundays, but it's just been 1 week. Well, I guess two by now. But I have missed y'all dearly, and I'm happy to be here. Brothers, how you doing?
I'm doing good. It's Friday. I'm with my brothers. My big brother's back. He made it safe. So I'm doing good.
All is well on my end, man. Just trying to make sure I get some last minute work done over here. But yeah, all is well. Always excited to be here on Friday nights and sharing conversation with everybody. And of course, everybody who's joined us out in the digisphere. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next conversation.
Likewise, man, doing well. Glad the week has come to an end for the most part. The work week, that is. I am excited about tomorrow. And I'm even more excited about Friday. Not Friday, Sunday. What in the world is going on? I'm going backwards.
Hey.
Hey, bro, it's been one of these weeks, man. Had drops last 2 weeks in high school. Sheesh.
Yeah, and I, like I said, and when I'm gone, I miss you guys. I appreciate. I know y'all held it down. I couldn't even watch because of internet capabilities, and AT&T wanted to charge me crazy amounts for trying to watch stuff on my phone if I tried. But just as I'm appreciative of you guys being here, I'm appreciative of the chat because we got His Divine Appointment. I'm reading it. We got Miss Lisa Keys. We have Miss Lisa Dove Washington, Miss Teresa Austin. If I mess it up, hey, don't blame me. Shanithia Burns. We have Nick D. We have, let's see, who else we got up in here? Miss Charlotte and Jordan. We always appreciate you being here. We see that smile go on Uncle Face. Cassandra R. McKenzie, Crystal Everett, always good to see you. Let's see. And that's all I see. But you may be on other platforms. And if you are, and I didn't call your name, charge it to my head, not my heart, or charge it to it not being on the same platform. Sometimes, all I can see is what's in front of me. But we appreciate you being here. And we appreciate your comments, your likes, your taps of the screen. Anytime you're in here and you're being involved, we appreciate, because we know we have here the best chat on the planet, because you guys, you are interactive, and your thought-provoking questions and answers allow us to see things from a different perspective as well. So we appreciate that, and we appreciate you coming tonight on this Friday. Today, Friday, not tomorrow, Friday, as Uncle was alluding to. But that was my petty moment, and that's the last one, guaranteed. So let's get started. Tonight's topic is unlocking your potential, how to transform your thinking and flourish in every area of life. And when I got this, I was like, man, this is a hard topic. I'm like, why the fella's going to leave me with this? But I knew that what would happen is these brothers would bring out not only thought-provoking answers to questions, but thought-provoking questions that will allude to exactly how you can do what this says, because we are in a transformative state. We must always be forward-thinking people. We must always be looking to flourish in our lives. But how do we get there? We don't always know. We don't always know how to get there. But coming to forums like this and having people in your life where you can talk and ask questions will allow us to be in a safe space where you don't always have to know everything. As long as you know somebody who does, we can all get there at the same time. Now, starting with the first question. Fellas, what life experiences have shaped our core beliefs, positive, negatives, whatever they may be?
Man, let the young boy go. Come on there, youngster. Let's go, young man.
I was getting ready to go. And I'm a just for inside joke, I'm gonna pick the over on that bet, on that over under. You know. But all pettiness aside, man, there are a lot of things that I would say shape my core beliefs, but it's because it's kind of weird for me. The more I read scripture and understand scripture, the more I'm able to see the evidence and the work of the hand of the Most High. So, like I tell people, for me, it was I'm looking at the plaque right now. March 22nd, 2009, right? I just remember, I don't know what was going on in my mind, but I was just like, Father, you trying to tell me something, you doing something, I was praying and all this other stuff, all this good stuff. And I was like, well, and it's funny because when we were in Kuwait, when you doing all your training and everything before you get to Iraq and start going outside the wire, and somebody said to me, I know you're 42, so I know you nervous and you scared, you scared of going outside the wire, blah, blah, blah. But that's why you need this training. And just not thinking, I said, I'm not really scared. So I wanted to deploy. I don't know why. I was like, but I believe God is showing me I'm gonna make it home regardless what happened. And it's like, oh, somebody literally said to me, we'll see what happened when the IED blow up 5 feet behind you and see where your God's at. Well, when that EVO report came back on March 23rd, they said there's no way possible that soldier was standing where y'all said he was standing at, because he was within 5 feet of that IED when it blew up. And there's unless he had angels covering him, he should have been blown into pieces. And I look back at my homeboy, he said, well, I don't know what God you serving, but I'm going. I need to go to church. Like, it was just funny. It was a funny exchange, but just something as simple as that. Watching the Most High make someone, stand on that word. And to this day, he still don't go to church and he don't believe in nothing. But I just thought that was something like that. But that strengthened me in my belief that there was a God, and it starts there.
I'm gonna go with the relationship. So, what life experience have shaped my core beliefs, positive and negatives? I am going to say sonship. And what I mean by sonship, I mean that in the literal term, not the spiritual term. Literally being a son. I have a mother who's still alive, Charlotte Jordan. She's in the chat tonight. She comes in most Fridays and Tuesdays to hang out with us and stuff like this. And I am 49 years old now. And my mom has been in my life for 49 years. So the way and the journey from where she was wiping my butt to where she is sitting here now listening to me in the chat, you know what I'm saying, is a lot. So, some of the things that I've learned throughout our relationship, and me as a son, have been love, forgiveness. Those are some of the things that have adjusted, and my thoughts on these things have changed and evolved over the years within this relationship. So for me, what life experience have shaped my core beliefs, and that's sonship.
Yeah, that's kind of like the same for me. When you look at life experiences, I go back to the moment in which core beliefs were injected in me and taught to me. It's not about anything that happened so much and so forth after that. I think the things that happened in my life after that helped me to have a better understanding of what my core belief looked like, or see exactly where I existed within the space of my core belief. But I have to go back to just natural human development. My mother was responsible for instilling core beliefs in me, and from that point on, they grew and evolved. I can't say that life after that have shaped them. They may have revealed some things about me as it pertains to my core belief, but that's about it.
I'm in a similar boat with each and every one of you guys because I've been shot and I'm a walking statistic, starting having children at age 14, and I'm a walking statistic of negativity, per se, how people would see things. And growing up, I would focus on those things because where we come from, you had to be hard. It's like, okay, so it was a badge of honor. But when I looked at this question, I thought about, like, man, it's easy to focus on those negative things. It's easy to look at those things as being relatable to people that were in situations as yourself. But mine is my fifth grade teacher, Mr. Chambers. Mr. Chambers, the way he treated every person as a person. He addressed them as such and made sure that they showed respect and also was shown respect. And that stuck with me then, and it sticks with me even more now, when I deal with people, because it's easy to see someone that doesn't look like you, that doesn't think like you, that uh, that will just, you can totally disagree with and write off. But and you find some people find themselves disrespecting those people or not respecting those people. And I look at it like every person deserves a level of respect. Every person deserves that much from me. If they're going to be disrespected, it's not going to come from me and what I do or what I perceive. It'll become from them removing that level of respect from themselves and exposing themselves for who they show who they really are. But Mr. Chambers, when he instilled that, and that's been a core belief of mine, to treat people as you would want to be treated, it was one of those things that stuck with me, because I was like, man, I don't care if this person is 5'2", or this person is 6'2", or this person is rich or poor. I'm not disrespecting people by just the merit of their stance, what they believe or whatnot. I'm gonna treat everybody the same. And that's what stuck with me, because I thought, that most people would try to probably think on the negative side of things, because when we grow up, especially us with this hue, we tend to focus on those things to illuminate our struggle. Let's go to number 2. Do you support yourself the way you think others should? And expound. And when I say support yourself, because everybody wants somebody to push them, to motivate them, to be there for them, be in their corner, to encourage them. But sometimes we can be our worst critics. We really don't understand the nature of, or the difference of, critique versus being critical. So I just want to hear what you guys have to say about this.
I'm gonna start with the back end of this question. It says, do you support others the way you think others should? I used to have a problem, especially early on in entrepreneurship. I had an issue when I would put something out and one person may purchase something. It's like, hey, we got a wolf pack, but the wolf pack don't buy nothing. The wolf pack don't share and like the videos. The wolf pack don't, the family don't, the friends don't. And then after a while, I started thinking that, and what started happening is the people who supported me most were the people generally outside of my immediate circle. So I stopped looking for support where I thought support should be. And I just stopped worried about it altogether. So do I support myself the way others should? Absolutely. First of all, I don't care about what they think, but I do support myself if nobody else is going to support me. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm on this journey in life and I'm trying to get to a certain spot, or I have certain goals. And if I am not supporting myself, then who is? And what I mean by supporting myself, that also means holding myself accountable. That also means taking care of myself. That also means taking care of my finances. That also means taking care of my mental health. So supporting myself means all of those things, supporting my entire body, yourself, not parts of yourself, but your entire being, the mind, body, and soul, whatever you like to choose as your entire self is what I'm referring to. So yes, I support myself, and I believe that I support myself. And if I support myself, then I have the ability to continue on and support others. Even if they don't support me. I don't care about that. Not no more. But it was learning. It was hard sometimes. Dang, it was hard, man. Well, actually, I'm gonna get off of it, but it wasn't hard. It was disappointing. It was disappointing more than anything, knowing that, you had people that you rock with for years and family and stuff, and everybody always talking about supporting and all of this other stuff like this. And you do something and the support ain't there. And it's like, dang, it's just, I was like, man, not you too? Like, dang, man. It's like, it's frustrating how it used to be.
I'm going to
at a moment.
I think I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench in this question, not intentionally, but you gotta know how I'm about words. And so when I see the word support in myself, I don't see how they mesh
Hmm.
because support generally is something that extends from the outside. So I think I get where we're going with the question, but do I support myself? No, I'm responsible to the things that I'm supposed to do. I exercise responsibility in the things that I said I'm going to do. If I say that, we'll be here every night, every Friday night at 8 p.m., then I have a responsibility to the people that I said I'm going to do that for and with. Support, on the other hand, kind of like what Uncle's just saying, support is what I do for other people. So now, if a person says they're doing things and we are connected, we have that type of relationship, then I extend myself for the sake of supporting them, what it is that they say they're doing and the dream that they are pursuing. I become an accountability partner to that person. That also is a level of support. But support looks different to different people, especially when you start talking about different things, right? And so to one person, and I'm saying this not necessarily saying that it's an authentic version of support. I'm just saying that it looks different. So a lot of times we are more, and I'm leaning on what Unc just said because I'm in stark agreement with what he said. We are conditioned to support people that we don't know more aptly or faster than we are to support the people that we do know. Our perception of support is what I believe is skewed. And so, not to go off on a tangent on this, um, but the backside of it, the way that you think others should support, I think that by itself is a whole different perspective within itself. Because even within the scope of it, if a person is supporting, which is an act, then whether I think they should be supporting this way or that way is totally irrelevant as long as there's an act that is actually being done. But if there is no act and there is no support, if there is no system, then there is nothing for them to support. So I think all of that goes back into the scope of, responsibility versus accountability and how, personal interaction exists within those realms. Um, to support a person, like I use some of the people in the chat just for the sake of conversation, right? You got Lisa Keys, who is pretty much heading the hearts of women. You got His Divine Appointment, who is actually doing the blog. You got Crystal, who does like everything. Like those people are legitimately supporting, and no one can go to them and say, "Hey, you ain't doing nothing." No, you can literally see the evidence of what they're doing. So if there is no evidence, then there is no support. It's that simple. So I think we got to come out of this. It's not going to sound good. I love y'all though. We got to come out of this church aspect of support, which we believe that my presence is support. No, boo boo, you're lying to yourself. You're kidding yourself. You showing up is not support. You doing something is support. Go out there and cut the grass. You know what I'm saying? Go out there, go out there and trim the hedges or something for the church. That's support. So again, that's the thing. We have this fictitious analogy about support, which leans to the aspect of entitlement. I don't have to do anything. I just show up. That's support. No, that's not necessarily true. That's your perspective of support. But maybe it requires you to go back and kind of tweak some things about that and have a better understanding of where that came from. Because now when you look at it, am I responsible enough to myself to provide the infrastructure to give other people something to support? But if I don't give you anything support, then what am I asking or what am I expecting you to do? Yes, Miss Charlotte and Boo Boo, I said that.
Yeah, I agree. I think, go ahead. I think the support can look different. This is just real quick. It can look different, you know what I mean? And sometimes it's based off of what you have too and what you can offer and support. You know what I mean? You look at certain people, they go and rally, certain people support with their pocketbook, certain people, even having conversation with people is a way of supporting When you're going around and you having conversations, you say, "Oh man, I listened to this great podcast, man, the Empowering Perspective, and man, it was just great." And next thing you know, somebody like, "Hey man, let me know what that is. Let me find that." You know what I mean? So there's a whole bunch of different ways to support, and like Coach said, you may not necessarily see the support all the time either. You know what I mean? And it's different strokes for different folks.
Yeah, I like what everyone said, but my answer to this question is still going to be no. And here's why. And there's different ways of support, but that's the question was, do I support myself the way I think others should? So at first, because Coach, you took me on the emotional roller coaster, because when you started talking about words, I thought you was about to hit the word that I was looking at. I was like, man, he about to take my whole answer. I gotta rethink. Then you went somewhere else, and then you went right back on my words.
So
Anyway,
I didn't get the answer that you thought I should.
No. I'm glad you didn't take my answer. But when I'm looking at should, to me, there's an expectation when I say should, unless there's a contractual agreement to what should happen. I have no expectations of level of support, right? If I post a video and you like it, thank you. That's, to me, like that's where you are willing to support. That's the level you're willing. I can't put a mandate on you. Oh, because you call yourself my friend, my brother, or whatever, you gotta like it, you gotta share it and post it every day so it can get circulated. No, you ain't gotta do none of that, right? If you did, all praises be to the Most High, But if you don't, there's no obligation on you to support me, like there is an obligation on me to support the thing that I want to succeed. And so if I wanted to thrive, if I wanted to succeed, I have to put the work behind it. I have to do what I have to do to get it off the ground, and I have to do the work to keep it up off the ground once I get it moving. And so the support behind it, I appreciate every level of support. And sometimes I look at things like, all right, I got X amount of people that follow me on Facebook. Half of them are family, half of them are friends I grew up with. I thought we were better than this. Y'all could watch my videos and rock with me. I'm joking, right? But maybe they don't like the content. So maybe I need to change. If I want their likes and their supports and their share, then maybe I should change the content, or maybe I should reach out for a different audience, because this is what I'm going to bring. All right, one of the two either way, the work is still on me. So when it says, do I support myself the way I think others should? No, because I don't have an expectation. So every time when I see that word should, I'm thinking expectation. So unless there's a contractual agreement that this is what we're going to do, there's no expectations on my behalf.
See, this is where I get to play Lee Corso and say, not so fast, my friend. Because I get what you're saying, and I completely understand it, and I'm going to steal your word, but, which means all that stuff I said before is a lie. But here's the reality of the truth. There is an expectation. There is always an expectation. The expectation does not come from external. The expectation is internal. So if I call myself this thing to you, then I place the expectation on myself to support. That's the difference. See, all before years ago, it was wrong. We place expectations on other people, and unfortunately, they would always fail because no one is going to live up to the level of your expectations. But when you understand the dynamics of relationships, now I place an expectation on myself. Because how dare I call myself quote unquote friend, and I don't do anything that there is evidence to show that I am friendly towards you. So yes, there is expectations, but the expectation is on me to support. That's why I say support comes external. So you don't have to expect me to support. I just automatically show up.
So you agree with me?
No, sir, I don't.
Go ahead, guy.
No, I'll say because I'm with you, but for me to support myself is not based upon
You can't support yourself. Support is external. You can't support yourself. You have a responsibility to yourself. That's not support.
But I'm assuming that that's what the question means. That's what he was alluring to.
That's why I
put
started
the same
with the
energy
question.
behind my work.
That's why I said I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench in the question.
Right. See, Coach threw the monkey wrench with the support. His definition, not the definition, but his definition, his version of the definition. That's
his definition.
1, 2, 3. Exactly. He chose one, and which to uphold to whatever. Now, and I'm in agreement. I'm just liking the dialogue because I look at it like there is an expectation. There will always be an expectation when you're in relationship with someone. There has to be, because if I have no expectations of you, why are we in relationship? Why are we like business, whatever it is? There's an expectation for something to take place in this, and the support or whatever has to come with the doing of something. Like somebody said, like I think Coach, he was saying how showing up is not support. You actually have to do something. And that's true, because if I could show up and sit down and watch, I didn't support. I showed up. But showing up and being active, being an active party is totally different. So it says, and I thought y'all was going to eat this up and go back to limiting beliefs, because when it comes to do you support yourself the way the way you think others should. See, sometimes we ourselves are our own worst enemy. So we think, oh, I just want their money. That's why I'm going to them. We used to go knocking on doors, but we would only go to certain doors. The doors had to look a certain way. We didn't go to the hood areas or the neglected areas. We went to the well-to-do areas expecting that these people would be nice and they would hear what we had to say and they would come and join with us and they would add to us, because those were our expectations of the support that we were looking. Now, when it comes to how I was looking at this question, the way, do I expect others to support me the way I think sometimes we have in our minds that limiting beliefs that, oh, I'll just ask for this, or, oh, I'll do this. And we limit the ability or capability of people's support or people's ability to be in our lives and enhance us, because we're only expecting something monetary. We're not expecting advice. We're not expecting mentorship. We're not expecting encouragement. So what we go in it looking for may not be what we need. Sometimes it's not about what you think you need. And I didn't expect any of us on here, but for everyone, there's some people out there that's thinking, dang, like I know, do I support myself? Coach, I understand what you were saying. But when I say, do I support myself? Like, am I giving my all to what I say I'm believing in? What I say is my task. Am I putting in my full responsibility? I choose that word. Am I putting my full responsibility into making sure this thing works? And if I'm not, then what am I expecting another person to come and be the support that I'm not even willing to put in? I'm not willing to put in my all or make it my responsibility, but I'm expecting others to. And that's where I wanted to go with this one. And I understand wholeheartedly what you're saying about support being outward, because it's your task, it's your baby, you got to raise it. Nobody else has to raise your baby. That's why you can't babysit your kid. So I understand what you're saying, Coach.
I mean, I just love it when you agree with me, but say you don't agree.
No, I didn't say I didn't agree. I just said you use one word, one part of the definition.
I actually, if you look in the chat, I put it in there for you in the private chat. I use all of it.
Man, I ain't trying to read over here, but nah. but when we, I think supporting others' visions others' tasks, when you are in relationship with people, it shows in what you do. I agree with you there, because you can say, oh, that's my brother, that's my boy, that's my dog. And if you aren't an active participant in this thing, are you really? It's one of those questions where you have to look at self and say, maybe I'm not sold out to this thing like I make up, like I act like. So I think sometimes you got to sit down and say, am I sold out in what I believe? Or is it just something that I'm going through or that I'm just in the midst of? Or, and I'm not talking about a belief system. I'm talking about in what you say you are doing, what is you say your passion is or you were called to do.
But see, even in that, I'm going back to the whole evidence thing, right? There has to be some evidence to support that belief system. That's how you understand what the thing is that you're saying that you believe. And even in the space of like, you know, well, using the example that you gave, like you got to sit back and look at yourself and determine whether or not whether you believe the way that you say that you believe. I think a lot of times before people get to that thing that they're questioning or asking that question about, it has moved away from them. So the thing that causes them to start thinking about whether or not they believe the way they say they believed is triggered by the fact that it has moved away. So I think a lot of times, and I'll go back to the other side to it as well. I think a lot of times we believe that the thing is going to sit there and wait for me to figure it out. But there are far too many relationships in society that prove otherwise. No one should, and I'm just being transparent. No one should wait for you to be the person that you said you were when they first met you. Like if this what you present to me, like this is who I am. Okay. But then in 2 months, who you said you were is not who you've proven yourself to be, then how long do I wait for you to actually be that person? Because in essence, what you're telling me is who you think you are, not who you really are. And then when the evidence shows up, the evidence is not lining up with the words. So now in the space of that, do that person just sit and wait and say, okay, one day they're going to come to themselves. One day they're going to come to themselves. Like you're like, that's foolish. So I think even, and I'm only using relationship because it's easy to understand, but I think that applies to everything. Like time does not wait on you to say, okay, I'm gonna act right now. I'm gonna do the right thing now. No, time keep on moving. Next thing you know, you got a face full of gray hair. You're like, man, where did time go? Time kept moving while you were trying to figure out what you were gonna do. And so until we get to that point and recognizing like the authentic version of yourself, not the person that you think you are right now, but the person that you were created to be, right? When you get to the point of realizing the authentic version of yourself and actually moving in the direction of authenticity, then you can actually be a person who shows up and support. But until then, support is going to look just like what you got in your head. And in essence, a lot of time it's a reflection of what you've seen support was from your past.
Exactly. And that's where, and I'm glad you brought out the past, because a lot of us, we have perceptions. We saw something work for somebody else, so I think that it should work like that for me. So I'm expecting you to make it happen, and I have all these expectations because I saw it over here, but I'm not willing to do my part. I'm not willing to make sure that on my end, I did the travel agent thing for a while. And I was looking at it like, man, that's easy. That's too easy. I can do that. But what I realized was I wasn't willing to put in the work to do those things. But I expected everybody else to do their part. I expected you to come to me, you to buy, you to this, and you to that. I expected that support from them. So it wasn't until I had to take that look, which leads me to question 3, look inwardly and say, man, I need to do some internal work before I can have these expectations of other people that would lead them to help me with the goal that I'm not sold out in. What's the difference between self-awareness and introspection, and how can they be used to transform your thinking and behavior?
What's the difference between self-awareness and introspect? I think to me, self-awareness is pretty much like you have like you can recognize it, like you have the ability to like recognize certain things that in yourself. And then introspect is, I think, a little deeper dive into all of that. So if I'm thinking of an example, me and coach are having an argument, right? And I say something that maybe I shouldn't have said, or I got defensive during the argument, right? So self-awareness is recognizing that I got defensive. The introspect is going back and reflecting on why I got defensive. So I think that's kind of the difference between the two. And I think, how they can be used to transform your thinking and behavior. I think it's like a two-step process. You know what I mean? First of all, you have to have the self-awareness. And then once you have the self-awareness, you have to go in, dig a little bit deeper and figure out why. And I think honestly, man, for a long time, that's where I was stuck at for a long time. And I think a lot of people are stuck there. I think and I'm not throwing no shade. I'm not trying to twist this conversation or anything like that. But just because I was there, I think a lot of people are stuck at I have self-reflection, or I self-reflect and I have self-awareness. They say, oh yeah, I'm self-aware. But then they stop. So what if you're self-aware, or not so what? That's a good thing. But there needs to be something after the awareness. And I think that's where the introspect comes in.
I like it. I like it. I think you did a very good job there, consistency coach. I agree. Self-awareness is uncovering the fruit, and introspection is getting down to the root. That's just kind of like in a very short way of looking at it. It's like me, self-awareness is just like me having a good understanding of who I am, what I'm thinking, how I'm feeling, and things of that nature within any given situation. To where the introspective aspect of it all is me getting after the root cause and understanding the why. Why am I having these thoughts? Why am I feeling this way? So forth and so on. And they work hand in hand, simply because if I have the ability to be self-aware in the moment, and I have the ability to get down to the root cause of the problem, then I won't stay stuck with I can, because a lot of times we're not equipped to do it, even though we think we can. But it leads me in the direction to where I can fix the problem at the root. Therefore, now moving forward, going back to Unc's situation, when something was to happen, we have that argument, whatever the case may be, and I say, oh, did you know this right here? And he immediately snaps to it. Oh, I didn't realize that. I wonder why. You know what I'm saying? So now he's going back and understanding where that thought came from, and so forth and so on. So now understanding how, self-aware, being self-aware, and then getting to the introspective aspect of it, well, it can actually dig up some past traumas that we've never resonated with, so that we can get to the point of moving forward and living in a more harmonious fashion.
So I want to start by saying, I don't know if I'm in the right circle, because I thought we were friends, and Coach thought it was appropriate to go before me when we're talking about defining words. So now, there's no meat left on the bone, because we let the wordsmith himself go first or go second. You got to go last on stuff like this, man. Nah, it's all love. I'm joking, but nah, all seriousness. I think it's the difference between knowing that there's a thing, and taking accountability for the thing. And so that, out of all of what these two coaches, these two educated brothers had already said, I'll sum it up like that, you know. All right, I have self-awareness. I know that I talk too much. The introspection is me understanding why I do it and what leads to it, taking some thought in it and possibly taking action behind it. So that's how I look at it. That's just me trying to sum it up because I can't add no more value to what these great gentlemen just had already said.
If Roland, if I ask why, because I don't know if the why is important or not. But if I ask the question why, if you feel like it's going to throw us off, then don't jump to it. But why I hear self-awareness all the time? Why don't we hear more about introspect? Like it seems like YouTube channels, people in just general conversation, almost in a sense to where some people may call it a buzzword, right? Everybody has self-awareness right now, but why don't we hear about the introspect?
And this is opinion, but introspect means that I actually have to do something about myself. And I gotta, sometimes I think Coach said it, because sometimes that may dig up a hurt. That may dig up some pain to show why I am the way. Like you know some hateful people. They just mean, and people be like, that's the nicest person where they give you a shirt off their back, but they mean. They like a junkyard dog. But there's a reason for that. And until they do the introspective part to find out why they are the way they are, they'll continue to be that way. Now I can be self-aware. Yeah, I know I'm that way. And it's like, okay, but introspectively meaning I got to do some work. That may mean I got to go lay on somebody's couch. That may mean I got to have a coach. That may mean I need some therapy. But people in our community don't necessarily like therapy. They don't like other people knowing our business, telling us what to do, telling us how to live. And they don't see how what they're going through, they push their pains off on other people. So now you have generations of PTSD filtered down through families, filtered down in business, because nobody wanted to go and get the change. Nobody wanted to identify the root of the problem so it can be uprooted and changed. And that's where the self-awareness versus introspection, everybody can be self-aware. It's easy to say I'm self-aware. It's easy to say, okay, thank you, appreciate it. Okay, now I know, and knowing is half the battle. Yeah, it's half the battle, and G.I. Joe said that, but nothing ever changed until you do an introspective look and say, man, I'm like this because when I was growing up, this was put in me. And so now I have this behavior. Instead of somebody just saying, oh, you a dog. Why are you a dog? How were you raised? Who raised you? What happened? See, when you look at it like that, and people look at the end of the original thought is how to transform your thinking and flourish in every area of life. In order to transform, you have to do an introspective look at self. I have to change me. But what we do is we continue to try to change everybody else to fit me where I am now, instead of me going back thinking, dang, I got to look and see why I have these knocks, these kinks in my armor, instead of just trying to hide them.
Yeah, I've heard people say, I've heard people brag. They're like, when I get mad, I just cuss people out. Like they are self-aware. They know that that's what they do.
I have a different take on that, though.
Go ahead.
I don't, because to know the things that I do and to know who I am is one thing. To know why those things exist is another thing. And I don't believe that most people don't know why. To where I think it's to be aware and to introspectively look in oneself to have an understanding of why does not mean that I'm going to change it. That's what I'm saying. I can understand the why and do absolutely nothing about it. That's just who I am. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to uncover that wound. I don't want to talk about that. I don't want to have a great lengthy conversation. I think the issue that really exists, to get after your question, is more so focused on honesty and transparent. And I think those two things are the things that people run from, because a lot of times what ends up happening is that people don't want to expose, what took place in Big Mama house when she went to work, and Uncle Cleophas came over, so forth and so on. They don't want to expose that because they're ashamed of, or they fear of what may happens and what it may do to the family and things of that nature. So I don't necessarily believe or agree that most people don't do introspection. I think a lot of people do introspection. I think a lot of people know why they respond the way that they do. Most people that have been in a bad relationship, and they have created some defense mechanisms in their life to ensure that they don't be in those bad relationships again. Well, they know why they act the way they do. So we can't just assume that introspection is the fix. It's not. Introspection, and I think Nick D said it, introspection and awareness is the thing that I need to put forth the proper level of work so that I can make the change. And then in making that change is not the same thing as transformation. I can change the way I think about a thing. I can change the way I see a thing, but transformation is something totally different. It moves me into a different space. It makes me look at these things differently. I no longer respond the way I used to respond. So when I say that, yes, people are aware. I agree with that. People also understand why they are the way they are. A lot of times, people also have an understanding of why they do the things they do. A lot of times. And the reason why they do absolutely nothing about it is because they don't want to be honest about it. They don't want to be transparent, and they don't necessarily want the secondary and tertiary effects about them doing so.
I thought we said the same thing. I think I added, the work part on there, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. Go ahead, guy.
No, so I think we're giving, when I'm talking about my generation of people, I think we're giving this generation too much credit. And no offense, but it is what it is. I really don't think we can use the word awareness if we don't believe that there's any fault in what we do, right? It's like you see a person that's 5'2", 300 pounds, say, I don't consider myself a big person. What do you consider yourself? Right? And so, yeah, they know they 300 pounds and they 5'2", but they don't know that, or they don't believe, they've convinced themselves that that is not problematic. That it's okay to continue to live life the same way, even though everything tells us that there's health problems coming in the future if you stay there. But we have removed reality from our minds nowadays. So I think it's like, I know that that thing exists. Like Unc used earlier. Yeah, I don't know why I just cuss like that. But if I don't see nothing wrong with the cussing, then I'm really not self-aware that I sound ignorant. If I gotta cuss every other word, or that I sound unprofessional, or what have you. I know I use these words, but to me it's okay. And so when we talk about why do we hear about awareness, I think because we can't get to introspection because we don't really have self-awareness the way I'm viewing it.
I think that what you are talking about is what we deem as acceptable behavior. We've made some negatives acceptable behavior to us. Now, I think that when we look at, like, in all honesty with me, I was a certain way and I didn't actually understand it because I've had therapy. And anytime I started any therapy session with someone, they didn't talk about the problem at hand. They started at the root. They wanted to know history. They wanted to know because they were trying to see, okay, where does this stem from? If you're a womanizer, okay, where does that stem from? If you are promiscuous, where does it stem from? I got to get to the root of it. Now, I can take an introspective look and say, man, that is where, but if I don't do anything about it, if I just identify, I'm aware. That's it. That's simply put. So it does take the work. And that's why when we're talking about transforming your thinking, that transformation means that I not only am self-aware, as Coach said, I'm not only doing an introspective look, but I'm willing to do the work to change for the better. And that's where the problem lies. A lot of people aren't willing to change for the better or do the work to change for the better. They can identify something, but then it becomes acceptable behavior and they are comfortable where they are.
And I add one more part. I think we are too. There's an old saying: "The enemy of great is good." I think a lot of that happens when it comes down to thinking as well. And so, to have an answer does not necessarily mean that you have the answer. And so, even within the space of introspection, to have an answer still does not get down to the root. You have to, like in most cases, you have to be around a person who knows exactly what they're doing to ask the appropriate questions at that point in time that makes you go that step deeper, go another step deeper, and go another layer deeper to get down to the root. Let's just be honest. I know a lot of people who've had bad things happen to them because we have a tendency in this world to use the word trauma too much, right? Everything isn't a trauma. A lot of people, I believe everybody has experienced what is called psychosocial stressors. But if I view it and I process it as a trauma, then to me, it is traumatic. And so a lot of times we'll carry that psychosocial stressor like a trauma, but only thing that did is divorce you. Divorce is not a trauma. It's a psychosocial stressor. So understanding certain things within the scope of that conversation, getting to the deeper cause, like why do you view that as such a traumatic thing when all of the evidence that led up to the divorce said that y'all were getting a divorce? So if you're not around a person who push you beyond just the surface level acceptance of an answer, you'll never get to the root cause of the answer. Therefore, you may do some work and you may get the scab off of the wound, but it's going to scab up again later because you never got down to the root of it.
Now, can you say what you said about trauma again? I can be sure.
Everything is not a trauma.
Right. Not everything, but you were specific.
Right. I said a lot of the things that we deal with are more so of psychosocial stressors. Like a divorce is not a trauma. Yeah. Right. Divorce is not a trauma. It's a psychosocial stressor.
I beg to differ.
I understand you can, but the DSM-5 says otherwise. So, yes, it does. Trust me. I promise you the DSM-5 says specifically trauma is more specific to wartime situations, sexual things, you know what I'm talking about. And it was a third one, but it was not. It specifically said divorce is not trauma. It also says that the way that you process it can be a trauma to that person.
Okay. Yeah, so because a traumatic event, it can be something menial that makes it a trauma for the individual. It like a divorce, depending on who the person is and their relationship in it, that can be a traumatic event. It doesn't mean that just because two people are separated, some people be, hey, I'm on cloud nine. But and now when it comes to, as you said, you went manual on me. When it comes to manual, when it comes to manual and Western medicine, I will disagree wholeheartedly all day when it comes to a lot of things, especially because these are the same people that said running away as a slave was a psychological illness. So when it comes to those things, I don't necessarily put too much credence in them because they aren't experiencing them, but they're talking about them as if these are the expectations. And then most of the people that wrote them are saying it from they didn't go through it, but so, but I understand, but so it can be, I understand it. And it's in DSNY.
Right. And the difference is based upon the prolonged experience that the person has with it. So once you go beyond the 30 days and the reaction that the person experienced starts getting more severe, now it gets into PTSD. But if it's experienced for a 30-day period and then they start to improve, it stays into what is it called? It slipped my mind just right at this moment, but it's another category. Man, I can't call it right now. It'll come back to me later.
But yeah.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
So because we're here talking about this thing, so the person that doesn't trust relationships any longer because of the fear of being divorced again or left again or walked out on again, is that the trauma, but not the divorce, or what are we calling that? I'm just trying to really understand it.
Reframe your question.
So because you said that it's a what did you say, community stressor or commutative stressor?
Psychosocial stressor.
Psychosocial stress. That's the word. I'm social. Psychosocial stressor, and not a trauma. So what would we call the person that, or what would we call what the person is dealing with that because of the divorce no longer has faith in relationships, and so they shy from intimate relationships because they don't want to become divorced or walked out on, so they become standoffish. Is that not a trauma reaction, or
that's their response to the event? And again, I want to make sure I'm clear. Again, there are certain things that are specific, but then it also addresses how a person processes it. So that's, again, looking at both of them, event and the way the person processes it. So even though it says certain events are not, depending upon how the person processes it, it can be to them.
Right.
That's the difference between the two.
Yeah, and you see, Cav Monet, she said, all traumas are psychological stressors, but not all psychosocial stressors are traumas.
Correct. And that's identified by the duration of the time that the person is still responding to that event.
Right. And I think what you were speaking on, Gaddy, was more or less, I think that would be more or less, sometimes that's people who just choosing to walk in fear. And when it comes to this whole transform your thinking to flourish, I think you got to face fear and not hide it, not run away, not push things off on the back burner thinking it's just going to disappear because you don't see it anymore. Definitely good on that one. Everybody good on that? Next.
Yeah.
As a child, what did you see yourself as when you became an adult?
Are we speaking like? Oh, you said alive?
Alive.
You say, okay, you got it.
What you mean by that?
Job, occupation.
Oh, okay, my bad. No, I'm like, for real though. I'm not joking when I say alive, like for real.
Yeah, like, that's what I mean. Like, what do you mean by alive?
I'm talking job, occupation.
Oh, you want to go to jobs? Okay. Man, I wanted to be a trash man, brother.
Okay.
Or a football player. And here's why, man. Like, and we was little, man. We the trash man used to ride by. You know, we ain't see him all the time, but like we got to see him in the summertime. And sometimes during the summertime, we be outside in the morning time when the trash man come. And man, I thought it was so cool to be able to stand up and ride on the back of the trash truck. You know what I'm saying? Like anytime you ride with your parents, you got to be inside. You know what I'm saying? But like, I ain't even care about the smell. You know what I'm saying? So, bro, I wanted to ride on that trash truck, bro. Like that was the coolest,
That's a first.
bro. Look, I was literally thinking about it not a couple weeks ago. I go out there doing something, pick up some trash,
Yeah,
ride on the
'cause
back of the truck, make my dream come true. I might go out there for about a month.
Uncle's gonna be from the trash man to the cash man. That's what I'm
Hey, man, it's some money in trash too.
okay, Red.
Hey,
I want to be an accountant.
an accountant.
Yeah, because I was good with math.
I never thought about that. Never would have
I
thought.
did. I did until I went to college. My first term through college. You know, the time I got the no go, and I didn't like it.
Hmm. Didn't like it.
Accountant.
Hey,
I would never thought of that.
But back then, they were doing manual accounting, where you had to make the ledgers. You had to make them line up. Yeah, no, not this.
you talking about paper and the
Right.
books.
And you had to balance some ledgers. Or something. Nope, it's good.
That's what they mean by balance the books. The books. But yeah. So it's crazy because Coach, when you said alive, man, I felt that. And here's why. Like, so when I was younger, really younger, when my parents were still together, I saw myself as being in the military. Why? Because we used to watch war movies a lot. My father watched a lot of war movies, and it would always cause him to talk about his time at war. And every young kid wanted to be like their daddy. And so my father was a soldier. I'm going to be a soldier. So when I joined the Army, I had to go to war. I had to leave Fort Jackson and get to Fort Hood because they was deploying. Because I wanted to be able to go home and share war stories with my father, right? And so that was a dream of mine, and I was able to do it. It took him a while because he didn't want me to. He told me, whatever you do, don't be infantry and don't go until you finish college. And when he found out I was outside the wire and all that other stuff, and I got that Lightning Hero Today, the hometown release, I guess the local recruiting station or whatever sent him a certificate, blah, blah, blah. Man, that joker got in contact with me so quick. My father he owned the phone, never answered it or used it. But when that joker found out that I got blown up, he was on that phone. I told you not to be no girl. But that that's that stories for other days. But so that's why I wanted to be in the military, right? But I really felt that thing when you said alive, and I might have said this before, but when I was a teenager, the adults in my church told me that I was going to be dead or in jail before I turned 21. That I was going to be a statistic. Right? They didn't care about what I had in the back of my mind, what I was striving to do, what I wanted to be. They didn't care. They saw me and they said, "This is what you're gonna be." And some of them are still alive to this day. They when I go home, they kiss me on the cheek. I always knew you was gonna be great. You lie. But to have that spoken into you by the mothers in the church you were growing up with, by the grown women in the church you was growing up with, man. At that point, all I saw myself was alive and proving them wrong. I didn't care what I was going to be, but I was going to come home at 21 alive and showing them that I was going to do something. That was it, really.
Oh man, for me, I didn't want to be in the military. My father was in the military, and then in the 70s, when people were coming back from Vietnam, I saw firsthand how people would go over to Vietnam and get hooked on, drugs and everything. So I saw it firsthand. So I never wanted to be in the military. I hated the idea of it, and it was something that I said I never want to do. I wanted to be a police officer. I wanted to be a police officer when I was very young, like elementary school. And then when I got to my teens and I saw how the police were handling us in these urban areas, I wanted to be a police officer even more. And it wasn't for the right thing, because back then the movie Deep Cover came out. And at one part of the movie, I went to the drive-in to see Deep Cover. In one part of the movie, Lawrence Fishburne says, I'm not a cop trying to play a drug dealer. I'm a drug dealer trying to play a cop. And I felt that. And I'm like, man, I can do that. And so in my mind, I'm thinking I want to become a cop so I can go undercover, so I can sell dope. And that's what my thinking was then, because of where I was from and the things that I saw in my neighborhood and the respect. You couldn't touch the police, but they can touch you. They can do certain things to you. So it was one of those things where I was like, man, I want to be a cop. Even when I came from Germany to Texas, my father sent me the application and everything so I could try to be a state trooper in Michigan. And when my first MOS was to become military police, but then I had a situation that had to change it and I had to wait and everything. But I think when we look at what we wanted to be, it was what we saw. Like a lot of us wanted to be football players. A lot of us may have been baseball. Like I played baseball. A lot of us wanted to be in sports. It was always those things where we receive accolades, we receive pats on the back, and being able to receive those pats in the back felt good. So when I went out there and hit the ball and people were in the crowds yelling and stuff, it felt good. So I seen it on TV and they were making money. Everybody else was saying, hey, be a doctor or a lawyer. And it's like, okay, I don't know no doctors nor no lawyers. So I never saw that. So that was never a dream of mine. That was never something that I wanted to be. It was something that I saw on TV, but it was never something that I would say, man, I was striving to be this. But I wanted to be that police officer. I wanted to play those sports for the accolades. But when it comes to everyday life, when you see people in your neighborhood, it's hard for us to say in your neighborhood. I like when Coach said he wanted to be alive, I felt that because when you look around and you see death, whether it's death in the sense of people killing themselves with substances, or whether people are actually, dying, by the hands of someone else, it's something that we see. And I always believe that you have to see it to believe you can become it. So when you're looking at things and you see on TV what they're showing your children, what they're showing us, it starts to become like, man, I want to be a rapper. People on TikTok, everybody on a TikTok page. You got a lot of pretty girls that's dancing in half-dressed clothing, saying, and then people like, man, I want to be a TikTok influencer. They're making a lot of money. They're doing this and they're doing that. And now it's like, okay, people waiting on to see what's going to happen on Sunday to see whether or not, oh, is this money train going to keep going, or what else are we going to run to? Because people don't necessarily have skills. And then in our communities, we don't publicize nor do we promote those people that are doing positive things to enhance the culture, to enhance the people. Because to me, if you're a teacher, that's an elevated position in my book. A teacher is something that should be elevated. Somebody who affects the child's lives should be elevated. And that should be something that it shouldn't just be a comical thing like on Abbott Elementary or something like that. It should be something that's looked at as a job that we take serious, that's respected in our community. But we disrespect it by how we treat them, and how we treat them, whether it be pay or whether it be how we think about them. Oh, you just babysitting kids for a few hours. But that's, where I was with it. Nah, dang. And when it came to this topic was crazy with me, how to transform your thinking, because I think you transform your thinking by not just being self-aware, not just identifying something, but doing the work to change self. Because when I can do the work to change self in whatever manner you deem it, it's an individual's process. It's not something that Coach Gaddy can't change me. they can help me, they can mentor me, they can encourage me, but I have to do the work. So when it comes to this whole thing, we have to be able to do the work on ourselves so that we can move forward. And when we move forward as a group, that's where the change happens as a group. But our potential is limitless. We just have to see it. We have to actually unlock it. We have to do the work so that now when we're looking at every area, every facet of life, I'm looking at it like, man, whatever I put my hands to will flourish because I have the confidence in it and not just rhetoric. Because a lot of people have rhetoric. A lot of people go to church on Sunday and hear a good message, so they think. And then they go away not knowing how to change their circumstances, not knowing how to have a belief in themselves that they can actually follow what the scriptures say and do what it says to do, and not just be a hearer of the word, but a doer as well. So I'm encouraged by the topic. And while I was way away, I didn't get a chance to see it until I got back. And then I was like, man, this tough meat right here. And I wanted to go. I chose to go back because I'm looking at it. In order for me to move forward, I got to dump some things. I got to prune some people. I got to prune some habits, some areas in life so that I can move forward. And that's what I want the masses to see, everybody to see, and not just it be on, okay, let's just get up here and give some motivational talks about, okay, you can do this to get better. I can do this to get better. And then we clapping, and then it's like, okay, how do I do that? We got to identify some things first. Gentlemen, you got anything?
I don't have anything left on this question. Like I said, I want to be that trash man. The trash man. Trash man came today where I'm at.
It's Tuesday over here. Yeah.
I'm good. The trash man came today too.
Come on, trash man. Shout out to all the blue collar trash man out there. Real talk though. Them jokers be out there early in the morning, man. It be cold out there. That's why like now, bro, I ain't about trying to be no trash man in the wintertime. 17 degrees riding on the back of that truck. No, bro, too cold.
Too cold. It definitely is. Matter of fact, it's cold in Texas and it's supposed to get colder. And we talked about a lot today, and I appreciated the comments in the chat room. I appreciated the dialogue that we had here because, as we always say, we didn't say it at the beginning of this one, that our opinions are just that. Our thoughts are just that. And we show here that we can have communication on topics without having to call one another out their name, without having disagreements to where we ready to throw fisticuffs and stuff like that. Because I look at it like anytime I'm challenged or that we're challenged, there should be some growth there. And I think that's one of those things that I look forward to. I don't like going places where everybody's a yes man. And like Coach always gonna say, not so fast, my friend, like Lee Corso. And I'm gonna come with some questions because you shouldn't be in a place where you can't voice your disagreements. Because if your disagreements aren't at least respected enough to be heard, then you aren't respected enough to be there. So you should leave. And that's why I love this place. I love the platform. And I appreciate just the mere thought of saying, hey, it's your week. Now, we the last thought that I had, Coach, can you pull up that should be? What led you to where you are in life today?
I see we short for time. We only about 11 minutes out, so I'll not stay on mine too long. Give everybody the opportunity to respond as well before we get into the final thoughts. for me, what led to where you are in life today? Consistency, baby. Consistency. Right? Me and Shell been together for 10 years. It took a lot of consistency in a bunch of different things, you know. To be in the military for 20 years took a lot of consistency. To be here for over 2 years every Friday night took a lot of consistency. You know, where we started at and how we started off a couple years ago ain't how it is now. You know, it's a lot more people in the chat over here on Friday night than it was a few years ago. Consistency, you know what I mean? So for me, what led me to where I am in life today is consistency. And some of the consistency is things that I've done well consistently, and there are some things that I have not done so well consistently. But both of those things have led me to where I am in life today.
And to be honest with you, I tell people all the time, everything that I have, everything that I'm doing, even down to my promotions, none of them really were were deserving or of any work of my own, right? Like according to the standards that are set out there, right? And whatever you think that means, it probably means that, right? So I always credit that back to gotta be the Most High. That's it. You know, I used to be the snotty nose kid on the block that'll fight your son in a heartbeat because he said the wrong thing. But you're not muted. You know that. Just wanted you to know that. You know, with the holes in the shoes and everything. But thanks be to the Most High. You know, I'm not where I was, and He's still pushing us forward. So that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, I think Lisa Dove Washington took my answer, but I'm glad she did, because I'm not going to sit here and tell you that back when I was thinking about being an accountant, that this is where I was going. I didn't see this. So part of that is it's a big old pot of gumbo. Grandma prayers, mama prayers, daddy prayers, a lot of grace. So a lot of mistakes, learning from those mistakes, wanting to get away from this, trying to do this, so forth and so on. Things happen in life, and then getting to the point and say, you know what, this is what I feel like I am led to be doing. Therefore, this is what I am going to throw myself at wholeheartedly. So it's not just a simple answer for me. I think the entire journey itself led me to this point.
I love it. And I'm with each and every one of you. It's not just one simple thing, but to not roll over what you guys said, for me, it would be fear and overcoming fear. Because my whole military career was fear. Because I was a hothead and I was doing dumb stuff. And I just knew that I needed to keep on re-enlisting because I had kids and that check would come every month on the dot and I didn't know what I wanted to do. And overcoming the fear of not having to stay in the military and not being this and not doing that. I think when you overcome the fear of needing a person or entity like a job, when you overcome those things, it's kind of like, man, this is it's revealing one, but it's also it's releasing. It releases you from the prison of your mind. And when you get released from the prison of your mind, then you can flourish. Then you can say, man, I can do all things instead of just mimicking those words and saying it. You can believe it when you say it because it becomes a part of you. It becomes ingrained in your nature. So whether I'm up or down, left or right, whatever, I know that if I do this, now I can move forward. So I think fear and overcoming fear led me to where I am now because, you know, those people that say, man, I should be dead and gone and all that other stuff. Yeah, we all got those stories. And that's why it's an everyday process. We had some ups, we had some downs, but at the end of the day, we chose to keep getting up, keep moving forward. And that's why we're here today and able to talk to you guys because we aren't where we were last year. And hopefully we're ahead. And we won't be next year we'll be further along, hopefully, than where we are today. So we appreciate you showing up. We appreciate you showing out in the chats. And I was reading the comments and love it. Now, on to our final thoughts.
So we're talking about support, which makes me think about community, think togetherness. Brought me to Acts 2, and there's a lot that was said in Acts 2, 40 all the way through 46. But I'm gonna go, down through 47, but I'm gonna go 46. So continuing daily with one accord in the temple and breaking bread from house to house, they ate their food with gladness and simplicity of heart, praising God and having favor with all the people. And and the Lord added to the assembly daily to those who were being saved. And if you go up a couple more verses, you see that they also, and you brought up fear, and the fear of the walk that they were walking in together. They sold all they had and they distributed all of their gain from that from selling to each other as each one had need of, right? So support, if we really do this thing the right way, according to the word of the Most High, for those who say that they are believers, is we owe each other our all, and whatever it is that we're pursuing, and not because I owe you because you've done something for me, but because you are my brother and my sister, because you do the will of my Father, and according to the word of my Father, that's what we are to each other. And I think when we look at support from that aspect, and see, a lot of people think, they say, "Oh, that's Old Testament." Well, that was the Book of Acts, you know. So when you look at how they did support, how they did community, how they did togetherness, there's no reason why we can't come together and build together. While what we have here can't be under the same umbrella, and why we can't grow, I can't grow something with y'all, and y'all can't grow something with me. That's how it's supposed to look. But we become so self-centered minded that we, and I know that's not a word, but that we worry about how that's going to affect my bottom line. I need to be able to stun out in this expensive car. Why is it not good enough that we all have cars? Why is it not good enough that we all have houses? Why do we have to have the bigger, the more? Mm-hmm. And then at what point have we had enough? Because if we're constantly seeking greater, in our possession, we'll always seek greater, but we have to work together that we all have with no lack. And then the Father will give us his increase. That's where I'm at with it. I love y'all. Have a great one.
So tonight's topic was called how to transform your thinking and flourish in every light, area, and era. Let me get this out. How to transform your thinking and flourish in every area of life. Right. So with that being said, two big things that I drew out of this, and this was the self-awareness and the introspect piece. And I think that just to sum all of these things up into my final thoughts, I think that that's very important. I think a lot of times we look at things and we see what's going on, and we have self-awareness, and then we may look into it, like Coach mentioned earlier, and even be aware of it, and even know exactly why we do the things that we did. We have introspect on these things too, but in the process of transforming, that's not enough. You have to come up with a plan to do something about it in order to be able to transform. You have to add in some consistency in order so you can maintain it. I mean, so you can, in order to be able to reach the goal, discipline needs to be added. Anytime you're talking about transforming anything, that's a process, and it's not just always something as simple as just changing. Maybe for some people they can, but when we talk about transforming, it's usually a process. So with that being said, folks, I appreciate everybody being here tonight, and that is my final thought.
My final thoughts are going to be simple. I think when it comes down to this conversation, you know, understanding how to transform your thinking is a process as well. But part of that is understanding, like I said before, you know, when you get to the point of whether or not it's good, do you stop at good? Do you become complacent at good? Or do you keep pressing forward to achieve great? Do you press forward beyond that to achieve flourishing? I think a lot of times when it comes down to it, I don't think any of us can clearly say that we ever seen or know exactly what flourishing looks like. So it takes for us to imagine. It takes for us to kind of like engineer in our mind what flourishing looks like. What would it be like for me to flourish? And then, look in those different aspects. Flourishing in relationship, flourishing in, finances, flourishing in community. What does that look like? How do I get to the point to where I can help, like, Brother Gaddy was talking about, and not just helping in one particular arena, help in all arenas, because just because you've achieved a certain level, it's not for you to, and I guess somebody mentioned it previously, it's not for you to hoard or gloat or whatever the case may be. It's for you to turn around and help somebody else get there as well. It's not necessarily depleting who you are to do so, but it's pretty much the essence of teaching them how to fish. Like, do we understand what that looks like? Do we do that enough within our community? And then when it comes down to it, like, what does the legacy of that looks like? Are you teaching it to your children, your children's children, and so forth and so on? Because once you understand what flourishing looks like, they should get to the point of being taught that at a very young age. So again, when you look at how to transform your thinking and flourish in every aspect of your life, it's a lot more that goes into that. Being self-aware is a thing, right? Practicing introspection is a thing as well. But what is the so what of it all? Like, what is the work that needs to be done? Do I have the ability to do introspection wholly, within myself? Does it take an outside source for me to dive deeper into an understanding that I may not have, dealt with or have compartmentalized? So all of those things factor. So that being said, a great conversation. As always, I enjoy these Friday night conversations, and that's my final thought.
Transformation is a process, and that process is not always convenient. It's not always comfortable. You got to be willing to go through that process in order to get to that place where you can see any attempt at flourishing in anything. And that comes with work. It doesn't come with just merely identifying that you are aware of something. But when you are willing to put in the work, and you're willing to make it happen, and you're willing to sacrifice, that's where this comes from. So when we talk about every area of life, if you can just get just a piece of that, and a piece of the feeling that, man, I've transformed from where I used to be to where I am now, but I still have a lot of room to grow. And James 1:2 says, my brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing this, that the trying of your faith worketh patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that ye may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. We got to get to the point to where when we realize who we are internally, it exudes externally. So when I say I'm chasing after him, it will show up in every aspect of life. And it won't just show up on a Sunday, on a Saturday, on a Wednesday. It'll show up every day. It'll show up when arguments arise. It'll show up with everything that you do. And you'll realize that my transformation is the total process of me becoming who I am to the end, and not me just attaining something that I want to attain here, because this is not the end goal. This is not the end game, but it's a simple process that's so simple that anybody can do it, but everybody can't do it. So we appreciate you for showing up. And like I said in the chat, we appreciate you for showing out. We thank you and we love you. And that's it. Now, yeah, you guys already, y'all been here long enough to know what's happening. You know, on Tuesdays, you got Coach's Corner. On certain Saturdays, we have, let's see, the women, they come forward. There you go. Since we just spoke about support, I would like, I'm gonna read it. I would like to see all 20 of us watching in the panel in the morning at 10:30 to support the hearts of women. So tomorrow morning, be there. And we got names, we got receipts. So show up so we can show out, so we can see Miss Lisa Keys and the ladies do what they do. And let's get in there and support. That's not just showing up. So get in there and be in the chat room. Encourage these ladies as they come forward, because they need that encouragement just like we need that encouragement. And I know at least 4 people will be there along with the others. So we're looking forward to seeing you guys in the morning. And if you want to see what's going on our calendar, go to the Total Mindset Shift.com and you can see everything on the calendar. Until next week.